Hi everyone, this is Abhilash from ATME College of Engineering from the Department of Electronics and Communication. So we've just been ported into Microsoft Teams, and we're after doing a little bit of exploration, we've come across quite a few features and how they have to be used to actually conduct class online. So this entire video is going to compose of the various things that we have to do so that a person can actually start off with Teams and then go ahead to take classes, issue assignments, and even evaluate them online. So the entire process is going to be detailedly discussed in this video. Hope you guys find this useful. So to start off with, the first thing that you are going to have to do is actually log into Teams with an account that has been created earlier. So the login ID for Teams is something that should be made available to you. Uh, so if you have the login ID, what you really have to do is just go to the website teams.microsoft.com, and at the website you will probably be asked for a login ID. So if you have an ID, you can log into it. Now if you're doing this for the very first time, Microsoft will ask you to change the default password that has been given to the account. So we'll have to do the password change. So you'll have to give a new password, double confirm it, and following that, you'll actually be directly logged into the Microsoft Teams account. So I have already done that, so I'm going to directly log into my account now. So on sign in, you can actually see the console of Teams directly here, but this console is useful when you're working somewhere that is not in your own laptop or your own desktop. But if you have a PC of your own and uh, you want to use Teams comfortably, it is always more desirable to have Teams installed in the PC. And the best way of doing that is actually to download Teams from the icon here. So right in the panel itself, you have an icon which says download the desktop app. You can directly click on that, and the download of the desktop app will start. That can then be installed, and similarly there's an app even for Android and iPhones, so you can install them also. And you can configure Teams again by just a login there. So instead of working on the browser, I'm actually going to go into the app that I have already installed. So this is the app that I have installed. The default app will have some settings here. All the main settings are given in this login window. You can actually log in, and once you log in, you can set whatever things are required. So I feel that there are two different modes of the layout here. One mode is the grid view. The grid view looks something like this. Everything is turning up as a grid, but I feel that the other one, that is the list mode, is much more comfortable than the grid mode. So I'll switch back to the list mode. So in the list mode, uh, the entire view of Teams changes slightly. You have direct previews of all the channels and all the groups. So this feels more comfortable. Now, coming to the overview of whatever is there available in Teams for us. The first panel, at the top of that button, you have what is called as activity. Now here it shows a direct feed of all the activity that is happening within all the channels that we have created. So before we continue, we are first going to understand what channels is. So Teams is entirely split into channels and groups. So if you are actually going to create or post anything in Teams, the best way would be to be creating a group and add all the people you are working with together into that group specifically. So I have created a staff group of my own. So there we have all the staff, and one group is sufficient. So everybody is there on the same group. So whatever content is there with the staff, we can post there. And similarly, if you have classrooms, you are teaching in different classes. So every class can create its own group, and under that what we have done is we have created channels under every group, and each channel is associated with one particular subject as such. Now other than that, so whatever work we do with students, we can just add them there. So the next step would be uh, how to create a team or how to join a team. So right here we have this button for creating a team, so you can directly click on that and say create team. So when you say create team, it gives you 4 different options of whether you want to create a class or a learning community, or you just want to create a staff group, and if it is something else, some other kind of group. So this segregation is actually done to allow us to select how the groups are actually responding. Class groups have separate options for teachers and students. Professional learning groups are usually composed of only groups, so the permissions are slightly different there. Staff group also is the same, whereas here in the other kind of groups you can give permissions to students also. Now this entire thing we are going to stick to class groups, so I'm going to create a simple class group, a test group. So I'll call this as test demo. You can put a description there, test demo group. So once you have created a group, it will create a group instantly for us, and it will ask us to add people into the group. So you can see that it is asking us to add students and teachers separately, because I have selected the option as a class group. Now our college account has already configured all the students and the teachers. So if you just type their names, the names start getting displayed. So if I want to add any specific student, I can simply type his or her name, and that is directly displayed. You can see that they have given names, user names with the year of the student and the branch to which the student belongs to. So this is very useful for us to directly add students as and when you want them. So I'm going to add a few students here. And once you add this to add all the names that you want, you can simply say add, and they will all get invitations. So they are actually invited into this particular group now. Then you can add the teachers also into the group. So with whoever is your faculty along with you, you can add them directly into this group. So all the faculty who are required can also be added, and once they are added, again they will get invitations, and they will get notifications that they have been added to so and so group, and this notification is what turns up in activity. So just now I created a group, and that is actually going to turn up as a notification for the others that they have been added to a specific group that I have just created. Now after that, what is going to happen is under the teams tab, I'm going to have, it will say your teams, and under that you are going to have different teams that you created. So I just created a team called as test demo, and under that team there's going to be a single channel. This is a general channel. This is called as the general channel. This is a default channel that is created. So this channel is going to be open to everyone who is there in this group. So you can add anyone into this group, any message into this channel, and you can be sure that it is going to reach everybody. It will always reach everybody if you post it in this group. So this is like the common place for everyone. Now other than that, if you want, you can keep specific channels for specific purposes or specific teams of people. So now I have added a few people. Like if I want only some of them to be there on one specific channel, I can add a channel there. So I'll simply call this as test channel 1, and I'm not going to change the privacy. You have an option of actually creating a standard group. When you say it's a standard group, everybody in that group will be able to access that particular channel. You can also make it a private only group. So only people you invite into the channel will be able to access whatever is there in that channel. So I'm going to stick to standard group and I'm going to say add. So when we do this, it's going to create another group right under test demo. So now under test demo I have another channel. Now you can see that the channel's main intention itself is that you can start a conversation with anyone. So once you have the channel, you can check who are there in this channel. You can check the members in this channel. As you can see, this is a general channel, so it does not have any members as such. But if I had created a private channel, it is going to have a specific group, and you can add the specific group of people there. Now let's say you've forgotten to add some people and you want to modify or add them or remove them. So you can go back to your group and you can select the options here, and right on the options tab you have add channel, and you also have something called as manage team. So you click on manage team and a new tab opens where you can clearly see who are the members, and it is the classroom way of creating it is directly followed here. The teachers whoever I have added, they have directly been promoted as owners in the group, and whoever were the students, they have been simply directly added as the members. So this members and owners makes a difference when we look at the properties of this thing. So when we say manage team, you are going to get this specific tab where you can actually add people. So if you want to add more number of people, the easiest way would be simply saying an add member, and again here you come back to the same screen where you get to add students and teachers separately. So how many ever students you want, you can add them. You can also remove them. Just say clicking on this X button will clearly remove that particular individual from that group. So once you have created a channel and you do some activity there, all of these are going to be continuously logged in the general group. So I just now removed that person, and if I go back to the general tab, you can see clearly what has been done. So initially a very clear log of what all has been done so far will be shown here, and it will keep updating each time you carry on something else. So the next thing that would be important for us is scheduling a class, scheduling a specific lecture for one particular class, and carrying out that class as such. So let's look at how you can actually schedule a class. So the easiest way to schedule a class is you specifically go to the channel or the group for which you intend to take a class, and in the conversation tab below you have different options. Now out of these options, the one that we find useful for scheduling a class is you use this video calling button right now. So this will allow you to call the person directly. Now if I say meet now, it is going to actually start a video call straight away, and you can mute, unmute, start a video, you can share your content. And since I have added all of these people in the group, it is going to give their names as suggestions, so you can invite every one of them individually into the group. Now if you don't want to take the class instantly at that moment, the best thing would be to actually schedule the class. And in order to schedule a class, you can again go back to the same place, click on meet now, and instead of clicking the meet now button, you can simply say schedule a meeting. So when you say schedule a meeting, what happens is the scheduler opens, and here you can give this meeting a title. So I will say that I'm going to take a class called demo class. You can add a list of attendees. You can call in those specific people. Even people who are not in that group can be invited as an attendee. But if you are doing it for one specific group and you added everyone in the group, the easiest way is simply add that particular channel itself. So under the test demo group, I have a test1 channel 1. So I just add this channel, and it's on. So I can, but the thing is that currently Teams supports adding only one channel. So if I want to uh, call an entire channel, I can do it only once. So I schedule this, and I establish what time this is actually going to start. So I have given the time here as 7:30 p.m. today on the 18th, and I've told that it is going to be at 8 p.m. But if you want to make it any time you want, you can always change this. I can say 8:15, and it is still going to take 8:15. And if you want to check whether that particular time some other meeting is going on, you can go to this scheduling assistant. So the scheduling assistant will directly connect this meeting scheduling app to the calendar, that is Microsoft's Outlook calendar. So into this calendar, if you have some other agenda, some other meeting in the schedule, it will be displayed. So based on that, you can establish whether someone is free or some other classes going on during the duration, or whether you yourself have some other work during the duration. So that is also, in that way, this assistant, scheduling assistant, is very useful. So once you have the invitation ready, you can say send, and that invitation gets created, and it will get sent to everyone. So everyone will receive a notification that a meeting has been arranged at 7:30 p.m. So once this meeting has been arranged, you can actually start this meeting whenever you want. So I have established this at 7:30. So now if I want, I can directly go to this meeting and say join. And when I say join, the meeting will start, and parallelly the meeting notification will go to all the others that the meeting has started. So they will all be invited into this meeting. Now as soon as we start this call, if you are in the group, you will also get a notification. But okay, so once that notification arrives, students usually pick up and they join in on the call. So the other aspects of this meeting, so if you have a slide that you would like to share, the best way to do it is going to be using a screen share. You can click on the share button, and you can see that it will show you your windows or whatever applications you have opened. They can be opened separately. So the easiest thing would be to open the window that you are currently using. So I have two screens connected to my laptop right now, so I'm going to use the screen that I'm currently using on this demo. So I connect to the screen, and the entire screen is made visible to the person on the other end. So to open Teams back, you just come back here and click on the Teams tab, and this tab will be back to you. So if you would like to open some other app, you'd simply have to open that specific app as the window in that particular tab there. So if that window gets shared, so if it's a PowerPoint presentation, you can just click on the PowerPoint presentation, and that will be shared with the viewers on the other side. Now this is as far as establishing a meeting and taking a class. Now the most crucial thing here is that once you're done, once your meeting is over, you have to end the tab correctly. There are two different things that usually cause problems here. One is the hang up button. The person who is actually arranged for the meeting becomes the organizer, and whoever joins in the meeting will also have permissions to be the organizer, and you can actually make them also as a presenter. But if you want everyone to leave the meeting at the same time, then rather than hanging up the call, you can simply go to more actions and say end the meeting. So this usually ends the meeting. End the meeting literally means everybody's call gets cut, and if they want to actually start the meeting, they will actually have to come back and again restart the meeting entirely. So I am going to say end meeting, and it will tell me very clearly you will end the meeting for everyone. So I say end, and the meeting ends. Now once the meeting ends, whatever we have done in that meeting, that usually gets saved. So another aspect here that we have to check on is you can always go back to the meeting again and for that particular day it will remain active and you can always join. So this can actually be a problem in certain cases, because students might mistakenly come and join the wrong meeting and wait for you to take class in a session where class is going on in another. So we have to let students know that this meeting has ended correctly already, and we have to let them know priorly that they have to join in on the right meeting. So the next aspect here that I'd like to show is the recording option. So under the meeting window itself, near the more actions tab, there is a recording option. You can say start recording and you will get a small marker where it starts recording. Also it gives you a privacy policy declaration telling you that everybody in the session will know that you are actually recording this session. Now the other options that are important and useful are the conversation option and the show participation button. So the show participant button shows you whoever has joined the meeting. Now right now in this meeting nobody has joined, so it is giving me suggestions as to so that I can request people to join in. And there is an option where the link is there. You can actually copy this link and you can share it with another person who is already there on Teams, and they can join in into this meeting. The next useful option is the chat option. Now this is the conversation option. So you can actually open this chat and people can type in if they are comfortable sending in questions written. This is a very nice way of asking questions so that nobody gets interrupted. Now other than these three options, you can also take notes. There is the aspect of note taking. You can entire note window will open where you can actually type in notes for the meeting, and that will be shared with everyone once the meeting is over, and people can actually type in the notes parallelly. The next option is keypads. You can captions. So you can turn on captions, but it supports English, and neatly it is displayed. So if the person loses out on the audio in between, the video might actually be rendering and they might actually be able to see the captions. So these are the useful options that we figured out so far. Now one very crucial thing is that whenever a participant gets added, usually what happens is the participant by default gets added as an organizer. So if I call another person into this meeting right now, they will also have permissions for screen sharing as well as recording, and that actually might become a problem when you have more than 50-60 people in a meeting, because our class is going to be a meeting usually with anything between 40 to 60 people. So in such a case, when you are actually starting the meeting itself, you have a small setting change which you can do, and make sure that that meeting does not become a meeting where everybody else can be made into a attendee. So to do that, what we really have to do is we have to go back to the meeting settings. You can just go to the place where you set up the meeting, go to the meeting details, and here under the option of scheduling assistant, you are going to have something called as meeting options. So you click on meeting options, it is going to open into another browser, and in the browser you are going to get meeting options window where you can set these three things. Now the first one simply says that who can enter the lobby, that is the meetings lobby, and the second one is if you want callers to be announced, that is you are going to get a small beep or a bell each time someone comes in or leaves, and the last one is who can actually be present, who can actually present. So present literally means who can actually share their screen. So you can, right now the option by default is always going to be everyone, that is everyone can share their screen, but the better thing to do when you're taking class for 60 people and you just want to do a lecture, then in such a situation it is better to say specific people or only me. The specific people option is not yet functional for us, so I'm going to choose only me, and you say save. So now when I start the meeting after saving this setting, I can just close this window now, and once I start the meeting now, the meeting will actually go about usually, but as soon as the other participants join, they will not be made as they will not have any presenter options, but they will actually have only options of attendees. That is, the screen sharing option will completely get disabled, and so will the recording option. So they will not have both of them. So this is like a short overview of taking class on Teams using meetings. So before we end the session, let's look at the calendar again. So I just scheduled a meeting. So all of the meetings will actually turn up in the calendar, and whatever scheduling we have done, the easiest way for any student to come in and join a meeting would actually be to go to the calendar and join the right class. So he knows that this hour he is going to have such a class. He goes to that class and he opens the meeting, and there he is going to get a join button, so he can directly join that. But again, this class is actually scheduled for some other time, but it is available to be joined even now. So a student will also have to be careful to check that he is actually joining the right class. Now these are the settings that are usually required for carrying out a class, and the next thing that is pretty useful is assignments. So you have a specific tab called as assignments, and whichever of the channels that we have created or groups that we have created, every group is given to us as an option for selecting which class, choose a class. So I can select whichever class I want, and there I can actually post an assignment. So there is I just created this demo class. So this is the demo class, and in that class I can post an assignment. So right now there are no assignments, there are 0 assignments, so I can create an assignment here. So I say create, and it will ask what kind of assignment you want. So you want to create an assignment where you give the question and they have to write and they have to submit, or you can actually create a quiz where you give them multiple choice questions, they answer the option, and for the right option even marks get allocated. Or if you already created an assignment, you can use the same thing, and from the existing one you can work your way around. So I'm going to create an assignment now. So when you say create assignment, you're going to get the new assignment tab. Now in this tab, it's nearly mostly self-explanatory. You give a title, then you post instructions that you want. Now it gives you the option of adding resources here. Now this option is very useful because if you have actually created a set of questions from some other file, maybe a Word file or a PDF, or you want to post questions from some other link, you can do that here. You can add a file, upload it, or you can give a link to some other file that you kept somewhere else. Or if you actually added your files to the OneDrive note associated with the login, you can bring it in from there also. So once you attach the file, you can even give the points, how much is the maximum points that you want to give, and if you created a rubric for the points, you can actually add the rubric. You can create a rubric, you can create a new rubric, and for that rubric you can save it, and you can tell how many criteria you want and what is the criteria. You can even make the rubric into a points, so it will allocate points for every criteria that you give in the rubric. So this option is also available, and it is pretty useful. So the next thing is it's an assignment, so it's going to have a deadline. So you can ask for a due date here. You can schedule a due date, you can schedule a time and a date, and also you have the option of deciding whether the person can actually submit the assignment after the date also. So if you want the person to submit, you can set it as a closing date, but if you leave it open, even late hand-ins will be allowed. So with these options, assignments have already been created. I'm just going to take sample assignments from somewhere. Let me take one of the assignments. from here to show you what has been done. So like this is an assignment that was due yesterday, it says, and in there you can see how many people have actually handed the assignments in. Now the faculty will get permissions to give marks for the assignment. So out of 10, this person has actually marked the assignment for 10 marks. So out of 10, how many marks for the handed in assignments? You can give it here. And finally the same thing can be exported into Excel. So the student view of the assignment is also shown. So this is the assignment that was created, and this is what the student sees when he tries to open the assignment. And they have actually added a PDF here. So when you open the PDF, the student will get, they have added a file, so the PDF will be visible to them. So this is about creating and adding assignments and evaluating them. So I think we've covered ground, quite a lot of ground with this. Nearly most of the options that we've used have been used here. Other than this, there is also the option of actually making a call, video call or an audio call individually. So the entire thing is happening on the internet through data connectivity. So you can actually speak to specific people. You can actually call specific people. So anyone's online, it will get shown as a status to you. So it will tell you. You can also establish your own status. So the status are clearly defined, and yeah, the message typing setting. So whenever you're typing a message, you can do quite a lot of settings here. So the first thing is you have a formatting tab where you can actually type a message with all the formatting options that you usually use in an email. The next one is you can send the message with priority. So the recipient will get a priority information. So whether it's an important message or an urgent message as such. So the next thing that is you can actually add any attachments you want. You can upload a file and send it as a message to the person. There is the option of adding emojis. You can add GIFs and stickers, and you can also schedule a meeting here, or you can go to Stream. Stream is Microsoft's network of showing us recordings. So I think I just did a recording. I think I should show this to you. So in the team demo, I didn't do a recording. So let me pick a recording from, or we can actually make a recording right now. So let me start the meeting. Say join. And once you join the meeting, you have start recording option. So once you say start recording, the meeting proceedings will get recorded as such. But the best part is that this recording is done in the cloud. So once your meeting is done, you end the meeting, the recording will stop on its own once you say end meeting. But if you don't end the meeting, if you just hang up, the recording will not stop, it will continue. So when I say end meeting, everyone comes out, and even the meeting recording has ended. So recording has stopped, and it will say that it is saving the recording. So whatever is the saved recording, they will be made available to us. So I have a previously recorded conversation here, so I can open it in Microsoft Stream. Stream is another application of Microsoft where videos are played comfortably. So it just goes back to the browser, and in the browser it will open the video that we have just recorded. So the entire recording is actually made available to us. And the thing that I like most about this part is that recording is going to have a link, and you can actually share this link so that somebody else can actually use it. By default, this recording is made available in this channel, so everyone in this channel will have access to this recording. Also, you can just say get link, and copy this recording and send it to someone you want. So if you select stream, you can insert a stream directly, or you just copy the link and paste it here, and that should be made available to the other person as a thing on Microsoft Stream. But you have to remember that this will only be available to people who are there in our organization. It will not be available to people outside. They'll need a login. Without a login, this will not be available outside. So I think we've covered literally all the options that are useful here. You can in this conversation itself, you can actually start a video call or a voice call, and you can add multiple people into any conversation. You can simply say add people and keep on adding more and more people into a call that you've already started. So keeps very fresh. It's very fast. The calls quality, audio quality is good, but overall all the works get organized very fast. So takes a little bit of time to get used to, but a day's work, and it should become really very comfortable to everyone. So I think we've covered ground on most of these things. Hope this is useful to you guys. Okay then, bye bye.